So you guys, I just finished Maya Angelou's book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And I just wanted to do this video talking about it because, oh my gosh, she made me cry at the end, you guys. Wow, like her book was deep. First of all, I want to say, disclaimer, if you're going to read Miss Maya Angelou's book, please make sure you have a dictionary or something where you can Google nearby, because she got so many big words in this book. I was like, dang, Miss Maya, I don't understand what that means. All right, what does this mean? What does that mean? Like, when I tell you this lady has the vocabulary of Shakespeare, like she literally has so many words in every page that I had to stop and look up what they meant. Okay, so that's one thing. You'll definitely develop your vocabulary reading her book. The next thing was some things that happened in her life, because we don't talk about her adult life in this book. This book was really inspiring for me. Like, wow, like that's why I just had to come out here and talk about it, because it 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 starts from when she was a child and it ends from when she had her first child. And it ended with she had sex one time, and she thought that she was unattractive pretty much all her childhood. And so she decided, no, I'm gonna try and lure a guy in to have sex with me. And she got pregnant. Like, that is crazy. So her whole life she grew up feeling like the ugly duckling. And then there was a point where she was raped. Oh, I can't say that word. Sorry. Okay, she was art. I'm sorry, TikTok, please don't ban me. I didn't mean to say that word. Okay, but there was a point where someone a lot older than her took advantage of her, and the whole neighborhood found out about it, and he ended up not going to jail. So back in those days, that's why they say what they say, protect black women, because back in the day, if that happened to another race, a white woman basically, a white woman could lie and say that a black man arred her, and they would be dead, they would be lynched, they would go to jail, whatever. But when a black woman did it, especially at her age, she was like 12, if she said it, it was kind of like they would justify it, and then they would let the attacker be free. They wouldn't send him to jail, they wouldn't do anything. And so this is like a pattern, like now we see history repeats itself, where when black women say something happened to them, they're immediately disregarded. Talking about myself and my own trauma, and at first I didn't understand. I'm like, why is everybody acting like I did something, like I didn't do anything? But then I read her book, and I was like, wow, they went to trial and everything, and they literally were like, oh well, and they just they let the man walk free. And then guess what happened? The streets killed him. The streets killed him. And so she became basically mute. Sorry, I had to scratch my arm. She became mute. Maya Angelou became mute because she couldn't believe that by her saying what happened actually led to this man's death. And when she found out that he died, she felt guilty, like it was her fault, because she confused what happened to her. She didn't understand it was the RAPE word, because she was still like figuring herself out. And so it was just really sad. Anyway, there was a point where she went to the West Coast, San Francisco, to go live with her dad, and he took her to Mexico. And there's a guy trying to talk to me, so I'm gonna walk very fast right now. I really hate when guys yell at me to get my attention, but it bothers me even more when they drive their car close to me like a weirdo. But anyway, all right, we're walking fast. So there was a point where she went to go see her dad in the West Coast. It was in San Francisco, and she was living with his dad, and his dad, her dad had another woman. So it's basically like her stepmom. They drove to Mexico, had a great time in Mexico. He was drunk. She had to drive his car back. She got stopped by the police, and then they went home. When they got home, the dad went on to work and do all these stuff that he was doing, and then she overheard the stepmom and her dad arguing, because the stepmom was basically, she was like, you're spending way more time with your daughter than you're spending with me. And he was like, are you basically saying you're jealous of my daughter? And she just broke out in tears. And so Maya felt bad for her. So when the dad left, she tried to say, like, hey, like, I'm not trying to come in between your relationship. And then she called Maya's mom a whore, which in the book she really talks about how much she loves her mother. And so yeah, Maya had to tear that booty up. So they got to fighting, and then the lady stabbed her, and then that's why she had to leave her dad's house. And she ended up in a foster system. And well, not a foster system, it was more like a group home. And so she ended up in the group home, or kind of like a shelter type. And then she called her mom, and she was like, yeah, I'm coming back to the South. And so that's how she came back to the South. And then she decided that, you know, she wasn't sure of her sexuality because she was attracted to women, but she didn't know if men were attracted to her, but she was also attracted to men. She also had a very, very close relationship with her brother, but her brother and her mother had an incest. It was like an emotional incest where the brother was very jealous of the mother's relationships with other men. And so their relationship became estranged once he became an adult. And she always felt favored over her brother because her brother was the more attractive sibling, I guess, out of the kids. And so the mother didn't really entertain that emotional incest. I don't like that word because that's not a good word. I would say the Oedipus complex more so. The Oedipus complex of her, you know, relationship with her son, that was something that was more on the son's side. Like, he just had a very unhealthy way of how he viewed his mother. And so he rebelled by having white prostitutes, yeah. But she really did love her brother. And so the story ends with her getting pregnant, and she was scared that she got pregnant. She didn't want to tell her mom, so she wrote her brother. Her brother was like, don't tell your mom until pretty much it's time for you to give birth, because if you tell her, she's going to tell you to abort it, maybe, possibly, I don't know. But she was like, I don't think mother would do that. So she was kind of confused as to what her mother was truly going to feel if she would have like told her sooner. But she decided to wait until she was pretty much almost ready to pop. And she said that she hid her pregnancy. Nobody could even tell that she was pregnant. And that made her even more like confident to say, okay, I'm going to really have this baby. And so once the baby came, and she was like basically in awe and mesmerized, she was still afraid because she was like, I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to crush him. Like, I just don't want to do anything that might hurt him. And so she tried to like push her baby onto her mother. And then her mother was like, no, you need to sleep with your baby. And she was still nervous about it, but then she ended up doing it. And then the mother was like, look. And she was scared to look. She's like, no, just look. And then the baby had his arm like on his mom. And I was like, that's when I started crying. And so, yeah, that was the end of the book. I know I kind of ruined it, but were y'all going to read Maya's story? Or do y'all just want the tea? Because everything you heard about her as an adult, I don't know. You have to do your own research. But her childhood definitely inspired me. Thank you so much, Miss Maya Angelou, for writing your story, sharing your story. Like, this definitely inspired me to just want to even tell my own story and just, you know, stop it at a point where it's like, okay, and then I lived my life as an adult. But yeah, everything about it, from the traumas to the triumphs to the funs to the highs and lows and all that, I just think that it's worth knowing and it's worth reading. So if you guys ever want to get to know about Miss Maya Angelou, you can get her memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And I picked this book up specifically because of the title, because I was like, oh my gosh, she has a memoir and it mentions birds, and my books mention birds. And so I just thought that was really cool. And yeah, that's all for now. I will see you guys on the next book review. I can't believe this book took me a long time to finish, but I'm so glad I'm finally done. And yeah, I love Miss Maya Angelou. So that's all.